Disclaimer, this episode is very heavily about startups or starting startups. Hi everyone, my name is Tiara and I am the content producer here at Plandora. And welcome to our very first episode of our podcast. And first of all, I want to start by saying that this is my first role in a tech startup, and there's a lot of things that I'm curious about. And that is why our first guest is Kit, who happens to be our co-founder.
Hello.
Kit, can you give a little context as to how long we've known each other?
Wow. How many years has it been? I think calculating should be 19 years. Since we've known each other since I was 14, you're 13.
I was 13.
And now I'm 33.
So a long time. And ever since I've known Kit, he's always been, you've always given a sense that you're someone who's interested in entrepreneurship. Like in high school, for example, he was selling shirts, I believe, for toilet fans.
I think I sold so many things. I mean, even when I was a kid, I was selling like Pokemon cards, repairing like Tamiya cars for money.
Wow.
Yeah.
That part I didn't know. I knew you were selling shirts, and I knew you were selling, I think even when you went to college or uni, was it in US when you sold the maid shirts?
Yes.
I remember that photo shoot.
Okay, I didn't think you'll go there, but yes.
Yeah, because I remember like every phase of your life, you were sort of doing something. And after you had come back, you had me help you shoot for your other startup at the time, Lemon.
Yep.
Right. So
Yep.
in every phase of your life, you sort of were doing something business related. And I'm just curious about like, where did this come from? How did you become to be the person that you are?
Well, first, my parents didn't want me to work. When I was very little, like I actually told my mom that I wanted to work in like McDonald's or KFC or whatever, like when I was a kid, because I just wanted to make money.
Maybe you were too young. They just wanted you to enjoy your childhood.
Maybe. So I figured that, okay, if they didn't want me to work, the next best thing I can do is, see what's around my room and try to sell it or try to make some money out of it. That's how it got started. And because at that point of time, every kid back then played Pokemon cards. Like, you can buy and sell Pokemon cards, you can trade. So I would join Pokemon cards competition. I still remember it was this shop in SS15, Subang. And at the end of the day, there will be prizes that you can win. So it would be a booster pack, like a booster box, or you can win multiple booster packs. So I was constantly winning.
Okay, that sounds like a good
so
thing.
I was able to get a lot of cards for free. So I used that cards to like fund a lot of things. Like I would buy and sell like Pokemon cards and things like that. So that was really how things started actually.
It wasn't any influence from any one person?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
Definitely not like that.
Okay. See, now I would have thought it was because you started dating in high school.
Yeah, that's also another thing. I know my wife for over 16 years and we have dated since high school. And part of the reason of starting my second business was so that I could, buy a new phone so I could talk to her.
So fast forward to today with Plandora. What made Plandora make you go like, this is an idea worth investing my time in? This is a good decision. I'm going to leave my steady 9-to-5 high-paying job to do this.
Wow, that's a loaded question. That's like an accelerated question. The honest answer to that is that the whole vision of Plandora is actually an iterative process. Like it wasn't like on day one, like I knew that, okay, what we are building at Plandora is what it is. It was something completely different. Yeah, but if the question is what convinced me to take that leap, it was more of timing. So this was middle of 2023. The startup that I was in was a bit in a very awkward position. So I figured that, okay, maybe now is the right time for me to start something. Just calculating my expenses, the amount of debt that I have, like my savings, which I've been saving for about 8 years to build something. I felt that, okay, maybe now is the right time to explore something. My ex-boss in Ringgit Plus once asked me like, what do you want to build? Like, if you have all the money in the world, what is something that you want to build? And oddly enough, it wasn't something related to financial. It was always something to do with travel, whatever the ideas came about. But I never had like a concrete thesis or like a problem within travel that I wanted to solve, but I just knew that it was in travel. Yeah.
And how did your family or even your wife reacted when you told them like now you're saying you didn't even have like a solid concrete idea? How did they react to you saying, okay, I'm going to be doing this from now on?
So for my wife, it was honestly very anxiety inducing. Like, it wasn't like, oh yes, let's do something, like let's change the world. Like it really wasn't anything close to that. It was really like on a day by day basis, like, okay, what are we gonna do? Like, there's so many unknowns. At that point of time, GPT, like OpenAI only released, I think, GPT-3, not even 3.5. So I still remember like ChatGPT just newly came out. So we were really looking at the technology and seeing like, what can we do around it. And we were still forming the thesis, the problem that we wanted to solve. So there was a lot of like different questions that popped up every other day.
So she was totally on board.
So leading back to her, she was like, well,
just to give it more
just do what you need to do, I guess.
Just to give it more context, like 10 years ago, you had wanted to build something and you had asked her for 2 years?
So it was right after I came back from San Francisco. I told her that, it's something that I've always wanted to do. So I spent about 2 years trying to build a mobile POS or point of sale company, which is you scan a QR code on your table, it opens up a menu, you can order and you can pay. So that was what I was doing like 10 years ago. And at that point of time, this was pre-COVID. So we were pretty much ahead of the curve. Like there was only 2 competitors in Malaysia back then. So because of that, the timing wasn't right. We weren't able to get product market fit, and so restaurants weren't buying into the whole idea. We did we did the whole product development, we did marketing on it. Just didn't kick in until COVID. When COVID came, then everyone was using it already.
Yeah, but even back then, 10 years ago, Navina was willing to support you for, I believe, 2 years.
That's why I married her.
She always says, my ROI. This is my ROI. You better make me a billionaire.
Wow, I would say that she is very, very supportive on so many levels, even since like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, and we were married, right? So like she could have easily walked away and whatnot, right? I think what has binded us together, if I have one word to sum up both of our mindset, is progress. Like we are always moving forward. After the failed startup, I was able to actually exit it. I knew that I wasn't experienced enough to fundraise, to do all of that. So I knew I needed more experience. So I joined my first startup. I think I joined as employee number 30 back then. It was this company called Ringgit Plus. Then I think it grew to like about 200 people. So it was at that time seed stage, and then they raised all the way up to Series B. So I was able to see that whole process, right? And that was a huge learning. By joining them, it actually set the course of my whole, which is why starting Plandora right now.
I'm curious about how... I'm curious about how you successfully pitch Plandora to our now investors.
Honestly, looking back, my pitch was so bad. Like, it was horrible. Yeah.
I also want to clarify, like, the thing about talking to investors, you not only have to get them to believe in the product or the service that you're building, but also you as a person, right? They have to believe in you. And now that you're saying your pitch was bad, but like there was something that they saw.
Yeah. So I just want to preface something before we jump into that question. Is that why do we even need to fundraise?
Okay.
Right? if a startup doesn't need to fundraise, then you're just off to the races and you're just building. You're just hitting product development, you're building the product, and then you're going into market, right?
Okay.
Fundamentally, the product development was too slow. So the team was all operating part-time, which means that they had a full-time job. So this was a nights and weekend kind of thing. So because it was a nights and weekend kind of thing, the whole development process was extremely slow. The product that you see today and you're using today, it's all done in just like 4 months. So it was nights and weekends. It would probably have taken like,
Yes.
I don't know, years. Like there was this guy that I met in Singapore who was building his own startup, and he did nights and weekends. It took him 2 years. And I saw his product, I was like, I think this could actually be done in like a few months if everyone is full-time. Imagine you are working for a company full-time, whether it's a big company or a small company, you're working maybe 40 to 50 hours a week, let's say. And on top of that, after work, you need to also build your startup during the weekdays and the weekends. So the context switching and the amount of effort takes a toll on you. That's in general. So I've seen it happen firsthand, right? And realized that, okay, we can't keep doing this because it's too slow. That's where I knew that we had to fundraise, because none of the boys are able to do this without some form of income. So the amount of money that I was trying to fundraise, it would have been even harder if it was in like 300 to 500K US. The goal was somewhere around that figure. But the product at that point of time, I don't know if you've seen the first version of the product, it was bad.
It has to start somewhere.
It was really bad. Like the first version of the prototype was really bad. Everyone in the team knows that it was really bad.
Okay.
And miraculously, we were still able to fundraise, right? I wouldn't want to say a lot of it is my skill in sales or selling. There is definitely an element of luck involved, 100%. The selling and the skill part is more of being very consistent. As I mentioned to you that I was pitching like super, like it was bad. Like I still remember seeing my first pitch deck and the current pitch deck I have, 2 different worlds, 2 different planets, man, completely different. And I made so many mistakes. The one biggest mistake that I made was when I pitched to Gary Tan from Y Combinator. This was in 31st October 2023. So I remember after pitching, I was super like, I think it was one of the best pitches that I've ever made on live stage, right? So after that pitch, literally after that pitch, 2 angel investors LinkedIn messaged me.
Wow.
Yeah, 2 angel investors LinkedIn messaged me and they want to invest about 25K a pop. 25K US, so a total of 50K. And then at that point of time, I was a bit like, like, oh, like, are we even ready? Like, so I told them like, love to take a meeting with you, just to talk. And then once you're ready, I'll let you know again, when the cap table opens. So when the cap table opens in January, when I started fundraise, I go back to them in January. They're like, sorry, I'm not interested anymore. So 50K gone, just like that.
No.
So the moral of the story here is that
go.
take the money first. If someone is giving you money, take it. Like don't,
Please come back.
don't think so much.
Sorry, what is cap table?
In a nutshell, it's just pretty much a list of all the investors that you want to have in the company and how you split their ownerships, so on and so forth.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember early on when we were talking about Plandora, you had said it's not just about getting any investor, but getting the right investor.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And how do you know if that investor is the right fit for us? I mean, considering you said hold on to these 2 angel investors and then after that you were like, you regretted it.
This is very subjective to different founders, how they want to optimize their cap table. That's entirely up to how they do it. But specifically for us, every startup should want to lean more towards smart capital because smart capital means that, okay, you have investors that have a wider connections or they are super experienced in the field, in the industry that you're in, so they can add more value. So a lot of people will want to optimize for smart capital versus dumb capital. But it really, really depends on the climate that you're in, the environment, the funding climate that you're in. Back in 2023, the investing climate is so bad. So it really doesn't matter you have smart capital or dumb capital, as long as you need money, right?
Just take it.
So again, it's very subjective to the company and to the environment that person is in. Yeah. And to also answer the last part of there was a question where you were talking about pitch, right? But I would say the mistakes that I've made is the first mistake that I've made was that I wasn't concise enough. And second is I wasn't pitching in like an elevator kind of pitch. You tell someone in like 7 words or less what the company is about. Because people have very short, especially investors, they have very, very short attention span. So you need to hook them in like the first few sentences. If not, it'll be lost. And the third is you need to be able to be knowledgeable and skillful all in a single package.
Wow.
I don't know how to do that, but it seems that most of the best entrepreneurs, they have all of this in a single package.
Charismatic almost, right?
You have to be charismatic. That goes without saying. But just being charismatic alone and you don't know what product that you're trying to build or you don't have the skill set to build it, like it's not going to fly. I mean, if you're charismatic and you have great charisma, that usually will get like, you know, your second degree or third degree kind of investor, but you will not fly with the savvy investors. Because the savvy investors are able to poke through holes and they'll be able to drill down.
Smell the BS.
Essentially they can smell the BS. Yeah. So you can try to BS your way through, but most savvy investors will be able to smell that very quickly. Yeah.
Okay. Plandora has sort of become like your identity, right? Like so much of your life has been poured into this. Like what does it mean for you to make this work, like to succeed at all costs?
I think most business owners, regardless whether it's a startup or SME or whatever, there is no guaranteed outcome. There's no guaranteed like, oh, if you work like 80 hours a week, you'll be successful. There's no such thing. I believe that the only thing that we can do is to put our best foot forward and to make sure that every single day that we are building this, we're enjoying building it. If you don't enjoy it, like I don't think you should be even doing it in the first place. Second is that if you're doing it, at least you're learning something. It could be something about the business, could be something about yourself. So those two things inevitably will probably lead to that promised land that you're probably thinking about. Whether is it money, whether is it trying to achieve some form of goal that you have in mind. I think those are the two parts. If you don't enjoy doing it, I think it will show. I'm pretty sure the rest of the team as well, we are definitely enjoying every single time. Like it's definitely stressful. Don't get me wrong. I was literally just thinking about it in the car, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Something that you mentioned to me when I first joined was like you said, pace yourself, don't burn out. Because this is not a sprint; it's a long, it's a long game. How do you find the resilience, or is it balance to overcome your self-doubt and also handling criticism from, say, investors, and at the same time leading a fairly young team, and at the same time building Plandora?
It's definitely tough. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm gonna say like, while I have all the answers, it's definitely tough. When I told you not to treat it like a sprint, so this was the advice that was given to me by my ex-boss as well. Because I was like, I remember coming in fresh eye, working. I wanted to show my value. I wanted to show what I can do. So, I'll be burning the midnight oil like almost every other day. So I realized something was wrong when, I got really tired at one point. And I realized that it was because like I just didn't fully enjoy the whole problems that was happening in the company at that one point of time. And that was fundamentally affecting me. And he just came and said like working in a startup, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And that really that calibrated my mindset to look at things more like long term rather than, you need to just constantly be like running. Unfortunately, in Plandora, like I have to be sprinting constantly. That's the unfortunate part. If I stop a single day, it's only going to cost the company time. It's not a lot of time. So there's not a lot of time left. And if I stop, then, something doesn't grow or something doesn't move. The needle is not moving. So it's also a bit difficult for me to stop. But the question then is that how do I sprint sustainably?
Yeah.
Q4 last year was when I was hitting burnout. And when I'm hitting that burnout, I realize that I'm extremely moody. I get triggered like really easily. So I knew I had to change things. But I knew also I cannot give up, like I cannot rest for too long. How to find balance? I don't think there's such thing as balance. In fact, I don't believe in balance. This is my honest point of view. If you're seeking for work-life balance, I really don't think building a business or startup is where you want to be. Like at least for the first few years of building a startup and a business, I really don't think that there's such thing as balance. But if you're asking how can you cope with, how am I coping with all the mental stresses and things like that, really I think the one thing that has proven to help is I just go on long walks. It's like every night I make a point that after I'm done with work, I would just walk around the park. That usually helps me to decompress.
Because that's really important.
For me at least, it's extremely important.
Yeah. Those of you who are listening, you probably don't know like to what extent Kit is a workaholic. We went out for dinner. It was for dinner.
Okay.
And you finished your meal in 5 minutes. And I was like, you're finished? Yeah, I trained myself to eat in 5 minutes so that I got more time to work. And then I just like, what? And it's so interesting how your life, I feel like you can't have always been this way, but maybe now that this is like a baby, you have shaped your life to focus on this, which I think also I want to point out like it's really a good thing that he's married, because Navina is probably the only thing that's like anchoring him to like, hello, not healthy.
So I would want to also correct that is that I generally eat very fast. Like I can chow down my lunch in like 5 minutes. And not just me, my wife can do that as well. She manages like the whole of APAC for a specific company, which I won't name. She manages the whole of Asia Pacific, and I'm building a startup. So like, if you look at our day-to-day, how much time do we have? Whatever that we are doing is really optimizing to save time. If we put it on a spectrum, maybe 80% of the time that I'm eating like in 5 minutes and then I'm back to work. Now, the other 20% of the times we sit down and then we talk. Like it could be a problem that she's having on her end, or it could be a problem that I'm having on my end, so we hash it out.
I want to read an email that you sent to us over New Year's, just for some context so that you know that Kit is not a complete workaholic with no human emotion.
No life. No life.
The email reads, every successful band starts by playing in small bars and writing small songs before eventually performing in large stadiums and creating hits. Every band has its beginnings, and right now we're in that phase, playing in small bars and writing small songs. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. As a band, we need to get our first hit song by Q1 2025, so we can keep writing and singing many more songs together. I might not say it, but I appreciate all of you, truly. Thank you for being part of this band, for writing and singing these songs along this journey with me. When I received this email, I was very touched. So I just want to say thank you for, inviting me along to be a part of this band. Like I said in the opening of this episode, I am not from a tech background. When you had approached me about Plandora, I was very scared. But my first thought was, who else is going to give me this kind of opportunity to have a very steep learning curve and a lot of growth and be part of something meaningful? Because I think what we are building, or how you pitched Plandora to me, also really moved me. And that's why I invest my time in this, because I believe in you and I believe in what we're building together. And I'm curious to know what that means to you, like for us to finally play in like large stadiums.
First of all, that's such kind words that you have, and I appreciate that a lot. What it would mean to me would be that we are able to serve more people, we're able to serve more travelers around the world, and them using the product that we all built and enjoy using the product. The product solves their problems, whether is it travel planning problems or trying to enjoy doing their own travel plans, like whatever it is, we want to build a great product for travelers across the board. And we hope that we can serve them better in 2025, 2026, and beyond.
And beyond.
Yeah. The way I look at it is we are a small band and we just want more people to listen to our music. That's about it.
That's true. If you could say anything to your future self when you watch this video back, what would it be?
I want to say don't take life so seriously, because I take life really seriously. I think don't be afraid to make mistakes even if you're successful. Yeah. Because I think when we are, I've seen this with successful people. When you're successful, you have a reputation, and because you have a reputation, you want to keep that reputation. Therefore, you don't want to be seen making mistakes. So right now, we are literally nobody, right? Imagine you're a small band, you can write a bunch of crappy music and no one will give a shit. I hope that if we do have the chance to play in bigger stadiums, we will be able to at least try to remember where we came from. And so we know that we started off just wanting to write good music.
Do you think you will slow down at that point?
I don't know. We'll see.
I think the answer is no.
We'll see.
That is all for our first episode. Thank you so much, Kit, for coming and sharing your knowledge and wisdom with the rest of the class.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you liked this episode, do like, share, subscribe if you're listening to this on YouTube. And stay tuned, because we will be speaking to hopefully a lot more people with a lot more stories who are passionate about travel and adventure. And until the next episode, bye!
Bye-bye.